They are now charging this Marine, Daniel Penny. And this morning he was in jail. He's a 24-year-old former Marine. He was charged Friday with second-degree manslaughter in the killing of Jordan Neely. He was released on bond following a brief arraignment in which he did not yet enter a plea. But his lawyers say that they are confident he will be fully absolved of any wrongdoing. The charge of second-degree manslaughter requires them to prove he caused Mr. Neely's death, did so recklessly, meaning that he knew that the chokehold he put this man on the subway who was threatening passengers in could kill that man and unreasonably chose to apply it anyway. If convicted, he could spend up to 15 years in prison, which isn't going to happen. I don't think he'll be convicted, and he certainly isn't going to spend 15 years in prison. But this whole thing is a farce. The whole thing's a farce. He's been charged. I have to say, as somebody who lived in New York for 17 years, I just moved last year, I'm disgusted by this. I find this absolutely outrageous that they left these New Yorkers to themselves, to their own devices. This lunatic goes on there. Oh yeah, the Michael Jackson video. That was years ago. The guy has gotten to be much more threatening, aggressive, a serial criminal, assaulted an old woman whose orbital bone he broke, as well as her nose. Another old man assaulted, tried to kidnap a 7-year-old kid. And this guy had to step in to protect the subway riders, and this is the thanks he gets, right? So they're trying to deter anybody else from stepping in and doing a similar Good Samaritan act. There's new news breaking in this whole case as a subway witness to the event speaks out and says as follows, okay? And then I'll get your reactions on it. She's a 66-year-old female witness. Debbie will tell me. It says both that she spoke to the New York Times and that she spoke to the New York Post. Not sure which it actually was. New York Post. Okay, she said that there are more videos of the altercation that led up to the chokehold, and she believes that those videos will absolve Daniel Penny. She says, hopefully people will submit these videos, maybe even anonymously, but they're out there, she said, because there's more to this story. She said it's to the point where when all of it was done, she went back and made sure that she said thank you to Daniel Penny. She said Neely came on the train and that he brought on the chokehold himself by threatening the entire train. Many of them were taking Neely's threats seriously. These are quotes. He said, "I don't care. I'll take a bullet. I'll go to jail," because he was saying, "I will kill people on this train." He said, "I would kill a mother effer. I don't care. I'll take a bullet. I'll go to jail." This gentleman, Mr. Penny, the defendant now, did not stand up, did not engage with the gentleman. He said not a word. It was all Mr. Neely that was threatening the passengers if he did not get what he wanted. Then Mr. Neely, this is from other reporting that was out a week ago, took off his black jacket as though he was about to begin some sort of fight. That's what guys do when they're about to fight. And we understand from this collective reporting that was when the defendant now, Daniel Penny, stood up and tried to subdue this out-of-control passenger. So Liz, let me start with you. What do you make of the decision to charge him and the change now in the mayor's tune? Because while the mayor was originally reasonable, now he seems out for blood.
Well, we saw this from Mayor Eric Adams, and we also have seen this a little bit from Governor Kathy Hochul. They've changed their tunes. At the very beginning, it seemed like they were very understanding of the subway passengers who perhaps feared for their lives, and of the Marine, Daniel Penny, who may have acted in self-defense. We haven't fully established this in a court of law, so I'm very curious to watch these proceedings. But initially, Adams and Hochul sort of were giving kind of vague quotes, seeming like they were on the side of Penny. And now I think that they saw the degree to which protesters and activists and people online have treated this as if it's the second round of George Floyd, as if it's the summer of 2020 all over again. They've changed their tunes and I think are resting on some of the initial vagueness to sort of retcon their own words and act like they were always in favor of this different telling of events. I mean, I keep seeing people on Twitter talking about this and calling this a racially motivated crime, a hate crime, or even a lynching. And the thing that I want to draw people's attention to is the fact that Neely was, presumably acting in a very threatening manner, to the point where it wasn't just Penny who felt the need to subdue him, but I believe 2 other passengers are seen in that video operating with him, people who he didn't know, random strangers who clearly assessed the situation as one in which they also needed to step in. So I think that shows that it wasn't premeditated and shows that there might be far more to this than meets the eye. To call this a lynching, to call this racially motivated, to call this a hate crime in any way, I think is really taking it too far. We need to establish way more about the situation that transpired directly before this. And I think more and more
you're spot on about the mayor's change in tune and how he came out initially like, well, hold on, people need to feel safe down there. Kathy Hochul too. And then when they, read the room, this very, very liberal borough of Manhattan, they did a 180. Now you've got this mayor. And by the way, one of the men who helped Daniel Penny subdue Jordan Neely was a person of color. There were reports saying he was black. I can't really tell from the video what his race was, but he did not appear to be a white man. The second guy, I don't know. The defendant in the case is white, and Jordan Neely was black. So Eric Adams comes out, Sarah, and adds this little bit of gasoline to this fire that's already starting to burn here in Manhattan. Listen to him.
One of our own is dead. A black man, black like me. A man named Jordan, the name I gave my son. A New Yorker who struggled with tragedy, trauma, and mental illness. A man whose last words were a cry for help. A man named Jordan Neely. The circumstances surrounding his death are still being investigated. And while we have no control over that process, one thing we can control is how our city responds to this tragedy. One thing we can say for sure, Jordan Neely did not deserve to die.
Oh my God. Do you believe the race baiting? One of our own, a black man like me, a man named Jordan. My God, what's your evidence that this had anything to do with Jordan Neely's race?
Yeah, we see this from the left, from the radical left all the time, right? All they have is race wars. All they have are class warfare. They thrive off of this chaos. They thrive off of the division. And that's why you're seeing them continue to make this about race. But I want to take a step back and look at the bigger picture here of the radical left operating in such a way that they are trying to make law-abiding citizens feel too scared to defend themselves. Case in point, go back to the Kyle Rittenhouse trial, right? This was a clear-cut self-defense case, and you saw the evidence. You saw him get dragged through the trial. You saw the entire world seemingly against him for just defending his own life. At the end of the day, he was found not guilty. What happened after that? He is now being civilly sued by some of the parents of the deceased criminals. And I will highlight, they were criminals. Then you saw it here in Austin, here in Texas, with Daniel Perry, a very close name to Daniel Penny, but Daniel Perry, who was trying to defend himself against the violent BLM protesters. They just sentenced him to 25 years, and Governor Abbott is waiting for the pardon board to get back with him so that he can pardon this man. But these radical DAs, the radical left, they want law-abiding citizens to be too scared to defend themselves. They want the chaos. This is why they're allowing criminals, the actual criminals, people like Jordan Neely, they're allowing criminals out into the streets. They're allowing illegals to flood into the country. They are allowing all of these while telling us, law-abiding citizens, that we don't have the right to own a gun to protect ourselves because they are thriving off of the chaos and division.
He says, one thing we can all agree on, this man did not deserve to die. That's a tricky question, actually. That's a lot trickier than the way he phrases it, because Daniel Penny's defense has to be that he was unleashing the potential of deadly force, and therefore my use of potentially deadly force on him was legally appropriate. And so, it's not morally deserved. It's legally deserved. That is at issue in the courtroom. And the mayor has no business getting out there and planting those thoughts in the minds of the jury pool. I do wonder, Liz, Manhattan's very liberal. It's very left. But Manhattanites ride the subway. And we have all seen these lunatics down there who make us fear for our lives, for the safety of our children, who make you get off. I've done it. I've gotten off early. I didn't wait until my stop because I was scared. There was some lunatic on board my train that it didn't matter where I got off. I just need to get off and get away from this person. And I'm never on the subway. These people who ride it every day, I just wonder what kind of a jury would, if this case gets in front of a jury, would actually convict this guy.
Well, I was pregnant recently. I recently had my son. And when I was pregnant, I live in Bed-Stuy in Brooklyn. I refused to take the J line and the M train because, that subway station near my house was not a place where I felt very safe. When I would ride that train, I noticed, a huge uptick. It's tough because we all sort of operate from a place of anecdata. I don't necessarily have excellent data to substantiate
I've never
this.
heard that. I like that.
But I mean, there were so many crazy people, and it felt like something that arose out of the pandemic. And so I got to the point where I would only take the G line. I didn't really feel comfortable taking certain lines. You don't want to be pregnant in a vulnerable position or holding a young child on a train where there's very unpredictable and possibly violent people.
Sure, you can go to Brazil or Colombia or Korea and get work done to your face, but why would you do that? You don't have to leave your house to look good. It's the final week of the Genucel Mother's Day sale. Look years younger right before your very eyes. Here's a real review from Genucel.com. Claire writes, I absolutely love Genucel. My skin feels so good, tighter, younger, with a more even tone, and I only used it for a week. My advice for everyone, take a before picture. Nothing works like Genucel because it's a family recipe for over 20 years, made by a compounding pharmacist in small batches. Always safe, cruelty-free, and natural. Right now, go to Genucel.com/MK60 and save over 70% off Genucel's most popular package, all their best stuff, during their Mother's Day sale. Every most popular package features their Ultra Retinol and Dark Spot Corrector. Don't wait. Go to Genucel.com/MK60, GENUCEL.com/MK60, and get a complimentary Spa Essentials box with every package order for only one more week, plus free upgrade to priority shipping. Genucel.com/MK60. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.